race fans, this is a replay, but to be able to watch the finest vintage racing in America live, download the app or scan the QR code and subscribe. Available on both Android and iOS, this is the only place to watch the 2021 season of SVRA live with over 10 hours of coverage each and every weekend. Our unique live stream coverage will bring you all the action from each group, as well as live timing, results and news from the biggest collection of vintage races in the USA. Subscriptions for the race weekend are just $9.99 per weekend or $59.99 for the season. To subscribe, download the SVRA app or scan the QR code now and be part of the future of American vintage racing with SVRA. I'm down here on the grid of the pre-grid for the FR race, the last race of the weekend for them, and it's an important one for this man, Kyffin Simpson. He's been leading the championship. He's got 5 wins under his belt, but he hasn't been winning of late. And Kyffin, obviously you've got a good opportunity here, but you can see the target in front of you, number 9. He's very hot at the moment. How are you going to stop him today?
Hopefully I just get a good start off the rip, and hopefully I can maybe get by him, and I think from there I can hold him off pretty well. And I'm just gonna, we've been working on the car a lot to try to catch him, and I think we might have it this race.
I gotta say, what's holding you back, because you had such a great start to the championship? Is it just set up, some tweaks that you just need to find?
Yeah, at Mid-Ohio we got really unlucky with qualifying being canceled, so we had to start the first race far back. So it was, after that it was just about playing catch up, and here we just haven't quite gotten the car right, but I think we'll have it here.
Well, best of luck. You've been racing well all weekend long, but he hasn't had the win, and that's what he wants now. He's pretty laid back. He's sponsored by Seafire Grand Cayman. How more laid back could you be? That's the way to be. I'd have that sponsor if I had a chance. Right next to him, though, is Ian Rodriguez. He's already been a winner this weekend, but the story that would be just a fairy tale, and I don't think it's ever happened in the history of this sport, is for a man to win in Trans Am and potentially win in FR. Here he is, Ernie Francis Jr. He's bored of talking to the media because everybody wants to talk to him, but we'll talk to him anyway. You just come off a win in Trans Am, and here you are again. How you feeling?
Yeah, feeling pretty good. You know, thought I had more of a break in between the Trans Am race and the FR race, but I pretty much came from victory lane about 15 minutes ago. So ready to get after it. Adrenaline's still pumping from the Trans Am race. I want to get going before it wears off, because after that I'm going to be taking a big old nap.
A big old nap. But how do you have to readjust everything? Do you have to take a different helmet on, I mean, a different headset in terms of, you know, your head space to try to get used to the braking points and all the rest of it, because you've just been 100 miles an hour in a completely different car?
Yeah, you know, it's a lot different the way you drive those cars. Hopefully I figure this thing out on the pace lot, and we'll be there at the start of the race.
Best advice I can give you. Good luck, Ernie Francis Jr. He's going to be in the 98, and right from the get-go, he's going to try to win this race, and he's in a good position to do just that. Watch out for the 98 racing for Future Star Racing. That's how it's set up. Can Kyffin Simpson win? Or will it be Josh Carr again? He starts in pole. Or will Ernie Francis Jr. do a little bit of nice poetic justice and get a win? We'd love to see that. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Jonathan. Great interview there with Ernie. I'm sure he has got to have a lot of adrenaline pumping as he's getting ready to move forward in this final race of the weekend for him, and it's the final race of the weekend for us in the Formula Regional Americas Championship. That was Jonathan Green. I'm John Phippen, and sat next to me is our expert commentator, none other than Justin Arsenault from the new iCar Canada racing team. Justin, welcome to the commentary booth.
Thank you.
Great to have you with us. You had an eventful race, the finale of the F4 Championship, but one of your best finishes on the season, finishing in 5th spot, and maybe could move up a spot from there.
Yeah, it was a really chaotic race. So it was a race that really went down to the finish. I managed to get a spot on the restart. So this track is really hard to race on with the long straightaway, and I think we did the best we could this weekend.
Everybody is making their first visit here to Brainerd International Raceway. How does the track suit you and your driving style?
The track is really tricky. On the infield part, you really need the car to grip from the rear and not get oversteer. So I think the track really suits me well. It's a very technical track, very hard, fast. And overall, I was really happy with the track and how it turned out this weekend.
Both you and your teammate Luca finishing in the points provisionally in that last race. So the ARCAR team beginning to gel here in the second half of the season. You've got to be pretty pleased with the progress.
Yeah, for sure. As a new team, we knew that we had a lot of work to do before going into the season, and I think it's coming along together. And I think we still have a lot of work on, but still, every race we improve.
Fantastic. That sounds great. Well, we'll look forward to having you in the seat here as we get ready to call the action. We're still just a few minutes away from rolling away the safety car on this round number 12 of the 18 race season. So we're well and truly into the second half of the season for the Formula Regional Americas Championship, powered by Honda. And we've had a little shake-up, I won't say shake-up, we've had a little difference in the points over the last couple of rounds as Joshua Carr notching his second win on the season. And the 99 of Logan Cuson, who sat in the commentary booth with us for the last F4 race. Logan had a pretty good outing in the last race as well, finishing in 5th spot. So Logan involved in a great battle pretty much all race long with his TJ Speed teammates, as Varun Choksi, Baptiste Berthelot were all in the thick of it. And then right behind him is the aforementioned Varun Choksi. Choksi was able to move into third, or retain his hold, should we say, on third in the points. As a tough outing for Jordan Missick on that last race, as he was tipped into a spin in the early stages and did not score points at all. So Varun and Ian Rodriguez both able to move around Jordan. So Varun now in third in the points provisionally. Again, the results we have so far are provisional, pending review by the stewards. So Varun now up into third spot. He's about 55 points behind Josh Carr, who is in second, and Josh has been able to narrow the points lead from Kyffin Simpson by quite a bit, but Kyffin has been on a roll. The first 6 races of the year, he won 5 of them and finished 4th in the one he didn't win. So he really set up a commanding lead before we entered the second half of the season, and he hasn't had a win in the last 2 rounds of competition at Mid-Ohio and here at Brainerd, but he has certainly been on the podium every race but one. And that was the first round at Mid-Ohio. So Kyffin still with a commanding 56-point lead in the championship. That's more than 2 races worth. So Kyffin could have scored no points in 2 consecutive races and still hang on to the points lead, even if Josh Carr were to win them both. So again, it's a long season. There's lots of racing left to go. Kyffin certainly has a comfortable but not insurmountable by any means lead in the championship as we put in our 3rd round of competition here at Brainerd International. Next, we've got about 2 months off before we get racing again as we head down to Virginia International Raceway for the penultimate venue of our 2021 season, and then we wrap up the season as we do every year down at Circuit of the Americas, and we always look forward to that. Our F4 U.S. drivers normally in support of the Formula One World Championship. Our Formula Regional drivers will be there a couple weeks later along with the Speed Tour. It's Trans Am as the 1-minute board now being shown to the field, as you can see, down trackside. Thanks, Tony, for those images, and a great vantage point just above our commentary position at the bottom of that picture. Those windows are where Justin and I are looking out over the pit straightaway here. And with the Formula Regional Americas drivers, we will have a standing start with the 11 cars lined up here on the front straightaway. 5 light gantry, identical to what's used in the Formula One World Championship. 5 red lights illuminate at 1-second intervals, and then a random amount of time expires. Those lights go out, and that is the signal to drop the throttle on these Formula Regional Americas racers. For those of you unfamiliar with the Formula Regional Americas concept, it came into pass in this country in 2018, a couple years after we got started with the F4 U.S. Championship. A similar but different race car. It's got a whole lot more aero, a whole lot more wings at either ends, a little longer wheelbase, bigger crash structures at the front and the rear, as well as the side impact. But the biggest difference is that Honda engine has got the turbocharger, and so these cars make about 303 horsepower, which is nearly double what the F4 drivers have at their disposal. As the car's now rolling out of the pit lane behind the safety car driven by James Rogerson, Sidney Yeagle right there giving a thumbs up to the field as they head out. Let's introduce the 11 starters for you for this 3rd and final round of the weekend for the Formula Regional Americas competition. Starting from the pit lane due to a penalty assessed for causing a collision in the previous race will be the number 11 of Hunter Yaney from Virginia Beach, Virginia, driving for Velocity Racing Development. Hunter is the reigning F4 U.S. champion. Also serving a penalty, a 5 grid spot penalty, went to Dylan Tavella in the number 14 car for Crosslink Crosslink competition, Crosslink Coating sponsoring the driver from Massapequa, New York. He was issued that penalty for a collision, and he'll start outside of row 5. Next to him will be the hard luck case of the previous race, the 48 of Jordan Missig from Channahon, Illinois, sponsored by the Audubon Country Club. Jordan drives for the Newman Walks Racing Stable. In row number 8 on the row number 4, in 8th position on the outside is the 29 of Nick Pershing. That's Dylan Tavella's teammate for Velocity Racing Development. Nick makes his home in Morgan Hill, California, a suburb of San Francisco. Next to him in that 4th row is car number 17, Baptiste Berthelot, out of Reims, France. He is one of the 4 TJ Speed Motorsports drivers in the field this weekend. Up into row number 3 on the outside, the man who is now 3rd in the points, finished 3rd in the most recent race. That is Varun Choksi out of Alpharetta, Georgia, sponsored by ADR and Melon Seed for TJ Speed Motorsports. As we said, moving up to 3rd in the points with his podium finish in round 11. Next to him in that 3rd row is Logan Cuson in the number 99 car. Logan also with TJ Speed out of Port Hope, Ontario, Canada. He's sponsored by Echelon Capital Markets, Peerage Capital, and Dickinson Wright. In row number 2 on the outside, Ernie Francis Jr. out of Southwest Ranches, Florida. You just saw him win the Trans Am race. He's with Future Star Racing, sponsored by the Wings and Wheels Foundation. Ernie is the recipient of the Pirella Motorsports Holding Powering Diversity Scholarship, and we're so glad to have him in the field. He is already a winner this season in his first season in open wheel cars of any variety. Next to him, already a winner this weekend, is Ian Rodriguez. He won the first race of the weekend in the number 45 car out of Guatemala City, Guatemala, for Newman Walks Racing. He finished 4th in the race earlier today. Now, the points leader will start outside of row number 1. That's the 21 of Kyffin Simpson from the Grand Cayman Islands. Kyffin is sponsored by Simpson Racing Products, Spy Optic, and GoPro for TJ Speed Motorsports. He's the one who had such a brilliant start to the season. In the first 2 rounds, he only lost 1 race, and that has given him a commanding almost 60-point margin over the second place runner, who, not coincidentally, is starting on the pole. That is the number 9 of Joshua Carr out of Sydney, Australia, sponsored by Crosslink Coatings for Crosslink competition. Joshua is the 2019 F4 U.S. champion, and his season coming to the good here in the second half of the season. He's been plagued with just niggling little issues, technical issues, which have cost him the ability to get the kind of results that you would expect him to have. But Josh feeling confident now with a win, a couple wins under his belt, and felt really strongly that if he can get to the first turn in front of Kyffin Simpson, he should have the pace to be able to draw away. So we're just waiting now for the light sequence to begin, and it has begun. You can hear the engines on the rev limiters as we're waiting for the lights to go out. And there they are. A good start for Josh Carr. Kyffin Simpson bogging down just a little bit. And it looks like Ernie Francis is going to try to have a go around the outside of Ian Rodriguez on turn 12. Then into 13, he is on the inside as they come in, and Francis up into 3rd spot. So it is Josh Carr, Kyffin Simpson, Ernie Francis, and then right behind him is the car of Ian Rodriguez. Side by side go Nick Pershing alongside the 03 car of, the 19 car of Varun Choksi as they come down into turn 3 for the first time. Pretty much spread out single file. Some battling going on a little deeper in the pack. As the 14 car of Dylan Tavella, remember he served that penalty, started back in the 5th row, and he is all over Nick Pershing just in front of him in an attempt to move himself forward. So look for him and Jordan Missig, who qualified a little deeper in the pack than they normally would, to be working their way up. And Dylan Tavella with a little tap from the back, and I think that was indeed Hunter Yaney, who might have gotten into the back of Dylan Tavella. He got off course here at the exit of turn 6, but he's been able to continue. Ernie Francis Jr. now applying the pressure to the points leader, Kyffin Simpson, as they exit the cloverleaf for the first time. Click really close to that wall, just about taking the mirrors off the cars as they come by to complete race lap number 1. So we can run it down with Josh Carr, your leader. Kyffin Simpson in second. Ernie Francis Jr. in third, up 1 spot from where he qualified. Logan Cuson in the 4th spot. Ian Rodriguez in 5th. Matisse Berthelot in 6th. Varun Choksi, Nick Pershing, Dylan Tavella, and Jordan Missick are the 10 cars running. We have yet to see Missick or Hunter Yaney come across the line. There's the 17 of Matisse Berthelot, currently running in that 6th spot as they power their way through turn number 2. Ernie Francis coming under a little bit of pressure as he has finally gotten around Kyffin Simpson. Ernie Francis going to the front in quick order. Jonathan, you had a chance to talk to Ernie on the grid. He seemed pretty confident.
Yeah, you know what? You could tell he still had the adrenaline flowing through him from the previous race. He was pumped up, to be honest. He's hardly had any sleep. His mum told me he hasn't eaten anything, but she said he hasn't got time to do that. And as you heard in the interview, he says he's going to take a big old nap when he's done with this. But I really do think we could get the best out of Ernie, given the day he's had today and what happened last night. It's been a hell of a weekend, and he is pumped up. He loves this Brainerd circuit. He's just won in Trans Am, and now we're going to see the real competition because up against Josh Carr, the man in form at the moment, he's already dispensed with the championship leader, and that was on the first lap. I heard Tony Perella say he's only got a few cars to overtake. He'll be bored.
Yeah, unfortunately, this has been a weekend to forget for Jordan Missick and the Newman Walks crew as the 48 car in the pits once again. I think that little tap early on in this race may have damaged the, looks like the left front suspension on Missick's car. So again, came into this weekend 3rd in the points, and he's going to end the weekend down 5th or below. So tough break for Jordan Missick. Here's a great battle now between Logan Cuson and Ian Rodriguez. Ian, a winner already this weekend. He won the first race of the 3, and he is all over the back of Cuson as they go through turn 2, coming up into turn number 3. This is the best passing opportunity. Cuson right in the middle of the road, guarding that inside line, but Rodriguez is going to go right around the outside. What a brave move. That's a tough pass to make, Justin.
Yeah, really hard down in turn 3. The grip on the outside is really low, so Ian got a really good break into the corner and got in front of Logan.
The front 3 just about equally spaced right now. Josh Carr in front of Ernie Francis, but look at that as Ernie has just set the fastest lap of the race, and he was just a couple tenths quicker than Joshua Carr. He's got about a 1.5 seconds to make up. This is a long race. It's 35 minutes, 5 minutes longer than the F4 US races, and so he's got plenty of time to get it done. Logan Cuson now cruising along in that number 99 car in 5th place after being passed by Ian Rodriguez. Just now working his way onto the start-finish straightaway.
Tell you what, very impressive. Just looking at the times, Josh Carr at 1:24.4, Ernie Francis at 1:24.6. Those are the only 2 cars below 1:25.
Yeah, Kyffin Simpson was pretty confident as well, thinking that he could stay with the leaders, but that has proved not to be the case as the TJ Speed Motorsports lead driver and series points leader back in 3rd. He's about 3.5 seconds behind our leader as there goes Hunter Yaney back into the pit lane. He has only completed a single lap. He and Jordan Missick both with some problems on that very first lap. Varun Choksi also in the 19 car involved in that. He is well back, already a lap down to the lead of the race. So Choksi, you know, is not going to be happy with that because he had just now moved into 3rd in the championship on the strength of that 3rd place finish. As there's Choksi down the pit lane as well. I'll see if he's leaving or coming in. I think he is coming in. So yeah. Problems for Varun Choksi. 3rd in the points. Jordan Missick still there as they've completed the repairs on his car. Great camera work there as our cameraman just catching Missick on his way out. All he needs to do is pass 1 car and he'll at least score a single point if he can complete 75% of the laps. Meanwhile, Josh Carr, the flying Australian, out in front. We expected so much from Josh in his first year of Formula Regional Americas competition last year, but it just didn't work out. He just had a little trouble adapting to the additional horsepower, the additional downforce that this car brings to bear, and he was so dominant in the F4 car, and for whatever reason just didn't get on with the Formula Regional car quite as well. But now he's finally getting to the point where he and his Crosslink competition team are getting comfortable with this car. They know what kind of adjustments it wants, and Josh looks to be mounting a roll right now. You know, Justin, I'll ask a little bit about, you know, these cars are all equal, of course. That's the whole point of the series. But there's a lot of adjustability. Do you find you have to learn to work with your team? You have a brand new team. Is it a tough slog to get to learn what you could do to the car and how it changes how it handles?
Yeah, it's every track, especially a new track like Brainerd that no one has been to, you have a lot of settings to try on the car as the aero setups or mechanical grips. So for sure, for like a new team like Crosslink in the F3, they have a lot of work to do in the goal to achieve the best setup possible.
Exactly right. As we can see, a pass coming up here at turn number 6. That was Dylan Tavella on Nick Pershing, I believe. We'll check that as they come by our vantage point here. But Ernie Francis has definitely left Kyffin Simpson about 2.5 seconds from second to third. As we look at the lap times, Josh Carr coming across the stripe at a 24.4. Ernie Francis just a 10th slower at a 24.5. Kyffin Simpson at a 24.9. So those three driving away from one another just a bit at this stage of the game, but it's still very early on. We're only 7 minutes into this race, 27 minutes still to come. There's Kyffin Simpson. He is the series points leader with a commanding, right now, 56-point lead provisionally based on the results that we've had so far this weekend. So he can afford to be, I don't want to say conservative, but he doesn't have to take any unnecessary risks. He doesn't need to put the car in a place where it shouldn't be, because he can afford to lose a few points. The difference between winning this race and finishing third is only 10 points, and when you've got almost a 60-point margin, losing 10 points isn't great, but it certainly is not going to cause him too much of a problem.
Yeah, this is where the man management comes in, because these are all young drivers, and you know, there's no question. Justin would agree, I'm sure, with this, but you know, you get to that point where you're not winning, and it's obvious your confidence will go down. You can see the team's heads going down. You know you've got the capability. You've won 5 races, and yet you're not winning. And I had a chat with him. You know, I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "Oh, we got problems with setup and all the rest of it." But it can get to you, and what they should be saying to him is, "Dude, you're winning this championship by a country mile. Forget what Josh Carr's doing. He'd have to have a miracle to be able to catch you. All you need to do is keep finishing races." But Justin, you probably agree. That's a hard psychological battle, isn't it?
Yeah, you really have to keep your head up even when you get not the results you hope for. And you can see Kyffin is still keeping his head up and still remaining in the top 3. And this lap by, Joshua Carr goes quickest, so you can see he's very consistent. He's been 24.4 for 3 laps in a row, and he goes purple on 24.3.
Yeah, so, you know, like I say, Josh really coming into his own now. He and the Crosslink team feeling comfortable with the car setup. He said that, you know, they were quick right off the trailer here at Brainerd, a track that no one had been to before. And so with that confidence comes the results. As we got a battle here between Dylan Tavella and Nick Pershing. Pershing in the gray 29 car, Tavella in the gray and red, or gray and orange, number 14. Tavella's had kind of a hard luck weekend so far. Finished 7th in race number 1, but was not classified in the second race, having served that penalty for causing a collision. So Dylan Tavella looking to redeem himself. He's currently 7th in the points and only 5 behind Logan Cuson in the battle for 6th. Jordan Missing back on track. He is running in 10th position, so in a position to score a single championship point. Varun Choksi, again, just in front of him in 9th. He could score a couple points, but both of them are laps down to the lead of the race. Nick Pershing, the last car on the lead lap.
The cars are looking to get better and better with the tire pressure every lap, as the entire top 6 drivers have improved their personal best lap time. So I think it's going to be interesting to see who fades off and who stays on the right pace.
Another thing we find with these cars, the weight of the fuel to start the race is a significant percentage of the car's weight. So as the fuel burns off, the cars get a little lighter and a little more nimble as the race wears on. So assuming they can keep the tires under them, they may be a little quicker in the later stages of the race than they are right now. But this is shaping up to be a pretty good battle, and it does have some ramifications in the points. And that's the battle we were talking about between Dylan Tavella and Varun Choksi. Choksi dives down to the inside, and he has got that pass made pretty easily as he moves by Tavella there in the braking zone for turn number 3. That will move him up into 8th position, relegating Tavella back to 9th as we run with just about 22, just under 24 minutes remaining in this race. The lead battle pretty much stationary as Josh Carr continues to click off fast laps of the race. He's got about a 2.5 second lead over Ernie Francis Jr., who on that last lap lost pretty good margin. In fact, it's now almost to 3 seconds, the interval between Carr and Francis. Kyffin Simpson is a further 4 seconds back, as he is just unable to match the pace of the two drivers in front of him. Josh, the only driver in the 23s right now, 23.815 for Joshua Carr on that last lap, as the Australian, native of Sydney, a tremendous young man, one of the drivers that I've known since he started in the F4 championship back in the day. His first year in F4 was 2018, and then in 2019 he won the championship and moved up to the Formula Regional Americas Championship last year, where he finished 6th, had 3 podium finishes, but finally it's beginning to come good for Josh as he's working his way around the track and already closing up on the back of some of the cars that have had trouble and are coming out of the pits. There he is right now, just about to put a lap on Jordan Missing.
Dylan Tavella has to seem to come into the pit lane.
Yeah, Dylan Tavella, just after suffering that pass at the hands of Varun Choksi, into the pit lane here, so trouble for the Crosslink driver. He is the teammate of Joshua Carr on the Crosslink competition team. So trouble with it. They've already got the engine cowling off. They're going to the side pod. That usually indicates an electronic issue. They might have to change the ECU. It's been a really hot weekend, and these cars are subject to overheating, not necessarily the radiator or the cooling system, but the ECUs can overheat in these cars, and that really caused a problem earlier in the season for a couple of the drivers. I think Josh Carr had an electronics issue that they attributed potentially to the heat. So we'll see if they can get Dylan's car back out and keep him in the points.
I think what Josh is trying to do right now is put down his head and get as long a gap as he can, or bigger gap as he can, on Ernie Francis Jr., so that if come down to the closing stages, because with so few cars, there's very little chance of a major safety car, or that said, I'll probably jinx it. But so he's trying to break the back of this race now, so that Ernie either isn't in touching distance, or if he's going to get in touching distance, he's going to have to risk everything with his tires to stay on the same pace and then try and catch Josh. But as I said, a safety car could come out, and there's obviously traffic that he's dealing with right now, but Ernie's got to deal with it too.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Jordan Missing. He made no mistake there coming into turn number 3. He pulled aside and let the leader through. He didn't challenge him in any way, trying to stay on the lead lap. He knew he was multiple laps down, and rather than hold up Josh Carr, he was able to get right out of the way, and I want to give Jordan a tip of the hat. That's great sportsmanship, and that kind of favor gets repaid down the road. There may be a time when you need a break like that, and it's a good thing, as we got a little bit of dust kicked up here right in front of us as somebody drops off a wheel. But we're looking at a great battle now between Baptiste Berthelot and Logan Cusson. Cusson in the 5th spot, and his teammate Berthelot right behind him. Cusson in the sort of maroon liveried highlights, the green highlights on the DJ Speed number 17 of the Frenchman Baptiste Berthelot, and they are going at it hot and heavy. It seems to me they've been in close contention much of this day, as they were also involved in a scrum right at mid-pack through much of round number 11 earlier today. Berthelot really looking racy now. Under the brakes, he's able to get right up on the back of Cusson. I know, Justin, that the F4 car, it's a little easier to follow closely because they don't make quite the same downforce that these cars do, but you still have to deal with aero wash, I'm sure.
Yeah, the F4 really isn't that as intense as the FR car on the aero wash. So in F4, the racing you can see is really close. The field really doesn't spread up. So that's a big difference, and I'm sure for Baptiste Berthelot, it's a hard time keeping his tracks right behind Logan Cusson, his teammate.
Yeah, Berthelot, a Frenchman from Reims in France, or Reims, as I should say correctly, as he works his way through the cloverleaf in chase of Logan Cusson. Logan also sat in your chair at our last race 2 races ago. It was great to have him in the commentary booth, and he was quite chuffed for the success that the Canadian drivers have had here this weekend. It's been a good weekend for Team Canada.
Yes, for sure. I'm happy for Logan too. Really good season, really finding his tracks in FR. As a fellow Canadian, I'm always rooting for our fellow countrymen's.
Exactly right. There, Batiste has got a good run. He's going to duck to the inside at turn 2. That is a gutsy move. That's the fastest turn on the racetrack, but it looks like he's gotten it done. Let's see if he can hold it, as Cuson's going to try to answer back. But it looks like Berthelot is able to move up into 5th spot at the expense of his teammate, Logan Cusson. We'll see if Cusson has an answer now, as he'll be able to chase rather than be chased. The other issue is that this is a really abrasive racetrack, as we found the teams, you know, to a man and woman actually, up and down the grid have said they were surprised at how abrasive the track was. So this being their 3rd and final race, tire management really comes into play here, does it not?
Yes, this track is very, very hard on the tires, as the long carousel at the end really gets the tires hot, and so for sure the drivers really have to keep the tires in a good temperature, because as soon as you overheat them, they start getting loose, and you just keep losing time every single lap.
Yeah, and the FR drivers especially, they've told me, have to really be cautious with the rear tires. With that extra horsepower, it's easy to spin them up and burn them down. So they have to be really careful, really judicious with the throttle coming out of a low-speed corner like this one, and not to spin up those rear tires and overheat them. So let's see if Berthelot has got anything for the car in front of him, and that is Ian Rodriguez in the 45 car for Newman Wachs Racing. That's Jordan Missick's teammate. Ian is just about 3 seconds up the road. You can just see him going through turn 2 now. So we'll see if Berthelot, now that he's gotten around the 99 of Logan Cusson, if he has anything for the Flying Guatemalan, as Ian notching his first win of the championship here in round number 10. He was quite pleased to do that. Again, English is not his first language, and he wasn't really as comfortable in the interview, so he had a translator with him. And but he'll get better at it as it goes along. And but Ian was very, very grateful for that win, and looking to work his way up in the championship standings. He's currently lying in 4th. He has 2 podium finishes in addition to that single win, and that's put him only 3 points behind Varun Choksi in the battle for 3rd. So Ian Rodriguez, as they run right now, in a position to take over 3rd in the championship.
I'm watching the times between Josh Carr and Ernie Francis very carefully, and really there's nothing between them. I mean, it's a 10th here, 10th there. Josh has got the better of him up to now, and of course has got a 3.5 second gap now. But Francis is keeping him honest and certainly keeping on the same pace. They're within a 10th on every lap so far, but Ernie's got a real job to do if he's going to get any inroads to cut down on that 3.5 seconds in 15 minutes.
Exactly right, and we're into the second half of this race. There are about 16 minutes remaining, as Jonathan just said. So we've been following this sort of intriguing intramural battle between the 2 TJ Speed teammates of Logan Cusson and Batiste Berthelot. Berthelot able to get the better of Cusson a couple laps ago, but Cusson has not gone away. He is still on the pace and able to stay right with his teammate. As again, another good look at our overall leader, that is Joshua Carr, who right at the moment has got a pretty comfortable 3.5 second lead, and he's able to control the pace. Doesn't appear to have any challenge coming from behind from Ernie Francis Jr., who started outside of row number 2. Ernie was able to make up some ground very quickly to get up into 2nd spot, but just hasn't been able to match Josh's pace. But Ernie has got to be a tired camper. I mean, he was here on Friday. He did 1 session in both his Trans Am car and in the Formula Regional Americas car, and then had to jet down to Eldora, where he was racing this weekend for SRX. And so he had to forego even the start in the the first race of the weekend yesterday, as now those two have caught. Logan Cusson has caught Nick Pershing, it appears. So Cusson now closing up on the back of Pershing in the 29 car, with Batiste Berthelot just in front of him. So there's Pershing, there's Cusson, and then there's the 19 of Varun Choksi.
You can see some front wing damage on Logan Cusson. I'm not sure how that's going to affect him on the straights, as you can see the other car going down this inside.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, that's allowed his teammate Choksi to get the better of him. And if he's, with that front wing damage, he doesn't have the front downforce. The car pretty obviously washed out on him there at turn number 2.
Yeah, it doesn't seem promising. He's looking like he's losing a lot of pace, so I'm not sure what his team strategy is going to be if he's going to come into the pits.
As it looks like to me, it looks like that's not so much damage as I think he's got a piece of debris caught in that front wing. It looks like a banner or something, and that's obviously going to wreck the downforce on that wing.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate if it's debris, because it can really damage your race.
Yeah, exactly right. Once again, Josh Carr cleanly out in front with 13.5 minutes to go. The interval right around 3 seconds. Johnny, I know you've been keeping an eye on the stopwatch. It looks like Ernie Francis making a little inroads into Josh's
he is,
lead.
bit by bit, but it's really intriguing. The last lap, a 25-1 from Josh, and Ernie's managed to stay in the 24.7s despite being as tired as he is. I think he really is running on adrenaline right now, but he has eked out a little bit of a gap, and it's come down from 3.5 to 3.1. So bit by bit, and certainly with enough time, Ernie's in with a shout here.
And actually, thinking about it, Ernie has an advantage in the tire situation.
Yeah.
Each car has 2 sets of Hankook slicks for the course of the weekend. The fact that Ernie did not qualify nor race in race number 1, he's got 2 sessions worth fresher tires than Josh has. So it could be Josh is beginning to get to that point in the closing 10, 12 minutes of this race where the tires going off just a little bit. Ernie, with fresher tires at his disposal, may be able to make a go of this in the late stages. So we'll keep an eye on that. As you said, Josh Carr's pace had been consistently in the 25s, the 24s, dipped into the 23s on one occasion, but that last lap was about half a second slower. He's now dipped back into the 24s, so I think he may not be in too much trouble, but he's probably working with slightly more worn tires than Ernie is. But to be fair, he's probably not as tired as Ernie is either. So there's the 21 of Kyffin Simpson, as he is running kind of a lonely third spot. He is 9 seconds adrift of Ernie Francis Jr. in that third position. That's Jordan Missick behind him in the 48. Jordan is a laps down to the lead, so that wouldn't be for position, even if Jordan can catch and pass Kyffin. But Kyffin has about a 7-second advantage over Ian Rodriguez running in 4th spot. So Kyffin, again, is going to be in a situation, let's take the podium, let's get the 15 points, and move on to VIR in a couple months' time.
Yeah, Kyffin has been really struggling with pace during this race. He's dropped down to 126.6, so hopefully he can get his head back together and start laying some good laps down.
Yeah, exactly right, as he is definitely not on the same pace as the cars around him. Ian Rodriguez almost a full second quicker on that last lap, so there's certainly time for Rodriguez to run him down if Simpson really is struggling for pace. And that would put Rodriguez up into that final podium spot. But he'll have to hustle if he's going to make that happen. Josh Carr completes race lap number 17. Ernie Francis right behind him, just about a consistent interval, just over 3 seconds, 3.1 seconds. Kyffin Simpson just now coming across the line. There's Jordan Missick in the lapped number 48 for Newman Walks. And then there is the 45 of Ian Rodriguez across the stripe. Again, Jordan Missick, this will be a weekend he would just as soon forget, as he has not scored the points that he had hoped for. He did have a 4th place finish in the first race of the weekend, but wasn't classified in race number 2, and he's going to be probably no better than 9th in this race. So only a couple points to try to hang on to that 3rd spot in the championship standings that he had coming into this race, but that is not going to happen. In fact, Logan Cuson, the way they run right now, could well overtake him for 4th in the championship, or at least close that gap down to virtually nothing as we head to the penultimate venue of the week of our season at VIR in a couple months' time. We have this long break because originally these Formula Regional Americas drivers were scheduled to head up to Trois Rivières, and we had so looked forward to that. I'm sure you were as well, Justin. That's in your neck of the woods, as they say. But sadly, the travel restrictions that came along with the COVID pandemic have made travel into and out of your native Canada very difficult, especially for U.S. residents, and we've had to call it off for 2 years in a row. Fingers crossed we can get it done in 2022.
Yes, for sure. It would be really fun to see the FR cars run at Riviera. Very tight circuit, very fun, entertaining, and hopefully we'll see them in a few years.
Have you had the chance to race at that circuit?
I've never raced there. I've watched my brother race a few times. But hopefully I can be in an FR car in 3 years' time.
There you go. Well, you might be in one next year. Who knows? But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'd love to. Given the talent we're getting, including Justin from Canada at the moment, we need to make a visit.
Exactly right.
And thank them for sending all their great talent.
Yeah. We have raced up at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Forgive me, I always want to call it Mosport. Canadian Tire Motorsports Park earlier in the championship. The Formula Regional cars have never raced in Canada, so that's why we had so looked forward to the GP3 Festival, and we'll hopefully be able to get that done next season. Varun Choksi currently running in the 8th position. So much promise for this weekend. He had finished 6th, finished on the podium in race number 2, but this race has really not gone his way, as he was running, started back in 6th position, dropped to 7th almost right away, fell back to 9th at lap 3, and then eventually got back up to where he's running now in the 8th position, but it just has not come his way to get back on the podium for this final race of the weekend, as he is just some distance behind the car in front of him. That would be Logan Cuson, his teammate. It's Kyffin Simpson still able to turn up the wick just a bit on that last lap. He's back into the 25s, and on that lap was a little quicker than Ian Rodriguez. So the chances of Ian running down Kyffin look to be evaporating, as that was an anomaly. He just had one not particularly good lap. We haven't talked much about the 29 car. That's the Velocity Racing Development Machine of Nick Pershing. A very workmanlike 6th place for Nick. He started in 8th, so he's picked up a couple positions already. He finished 6th as well in race number 2 earlier today. So Nick Pershing with an 8th and a 6th already this weekend, coming off 3 points-paying finishes at Mid-Ohio. Understand he did not race with us at the first 2 venues, at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta and at Road America. So having joined us mid-season, he's been in the points every race so far. 9th and 8th, a 4th, an 8th, and a 6th in his 5 races so far. And it looks like another 6th might be in the works for him. So the California native looking consistent and right in the mid-pack at the moment in this Formula Regional Americas field for 2021.
Ernie Francis just a couple of tenths quicker than Josh Carr last time out, but the gap's still 3 seconds. So Josh controlling this race from the front.
Yeah, just over 3.1 seconds, and I'm sure Josh's crew is on the radio to him, keeping him apprised of the situation. Crosslink competition crew, again, this is their 2nd year of competition in the Formula Regional Americas Championship, and they have definitely come good at the halfway point of this 2021 season. So Josh, if he can keep it together, and if his luck can hold together, he has certainly had his share of bad luck. There's the 45 of Ian Rodriguez, the 4th place runner, some 8.5 seconds behind Kyffin Simpson. There's the 17 of Baptiste Berthelot, running in 5th position right now. He's about 4 seconds behind Rodriguez. So we don't have any positions in close contention right now. The field pretty well spread out around this 2.5-mile circuit at Brainerd International Raceway. But Berthelot running in 5th, that would match his best finish of the year, as he had a 5th place in round number 10 here. At the first race of the weekend for Brainerd International, and if he's able to hang on to that, he would make 2 5ths and a 7th here at Brainerd, and that will be his best finishes of the year. It's moved him up to the top 10 in the series points. The top 7 drivers in the Formula Regional Americas Championship earned super license points, and Ian Rodriguez is slowing as he comes through turn 6 right in front of our commentary position here. The car just crawling along. It's still going, but it looks like he may be stuck in a lower gear. So, oh, what a terrible break for Rodriguez, and a good break for Berthelot, who we were just talking about, as he has already gotten by him. Berthelot up to 4th now, as Rodriguez with an issue. The car still with power, but moving slowly. And I know there have been issues, and Justin, you can address this. The Sadev gearboxes occasionally will get stuck in a gear and you're not able to shift. I don't know if you've experienced that or not, but that's been an issue that has cropped up occasionally.
Yeah, on the F4 cars, most importantly is the clutch failure that happens a few times, as we saw Jason Alder in Mid-Ohio. But yeah, I've never really learned about the Sadev gearbox, so I don't have as much information as.
Yeah, I'm just making a guess based on some issues we've had in the past. So, but anyway, tough break for Ian Rodriguez, having to fall out of a 4th place, potentially a 4th place finish, and that has allowed Baptiste Berthelot to move up into that spot, potentially his best finish of the season. Kyffin Simpson still soldiering on in third, but no challenge to Ernie Francis. Almost 12 seconds behind the second place runner of Francis. And Francis's interval to the leader, Josh Carr, has stayed consistent at just over 3 seconds, pretty much the entire race long. We're in the final 3.5 minutes here of this one. As you can see, Simpson working his way down into turn number 12, under the bridge to turn 13, and back onto the front straightaway. As you can see, the pit entrance right there behind him with the safety car sitting in it. He's just coming up at the point now where, as we've got the Newman Wax Racing car of Ian Rodriguez in the pit lane, the rear engine cowling off, and they're having a look. So I don't think it was a transmission issue. They're looking at the Honda power plant itself, as they may have developed some sort of issue. So back to Kyffin Simpson now into turn number 3, as he has got 3 more minutes to keep that car right where it is and end up on the podium once again. It would be his 4th podium to go along with 5 wins. So in 12 races of competition, he has only been off the podium twice. At the first round at Mid-Ohio, where he didn't score at all, and at the first round at Road America, where he came home 4th. So that kind of consistency and running near the front has made him just about unbeatable in this championship. Josh Carr will be able to close a little bit of gap because he is 2 positions in front of him in the championship hunt, and Ernie Francis Jr. will also pick up some valuable points. But the fact that he had to give away 2 of the 3 races this weekend, it will certainly not help his points battle getting near the top. He's certainly currently in 8th, and I think he'll have the opportunity to move up into 7th or perhaps 6th. Oh, just as I say it. Oh, my Lord, with 2 minutes remaining, Ernie Francis's car comes to a stop right at the bridge. That's after turn number 12. You can see the flashing light. That indicates to a following car that the engine has stalled, as Ernie is valiantly trying to get that car refired, but it does not appear to be responding. Oh, what a terrible break for Ernie Francis. Jonathan, he has had the worst luck between his Trans Am racing and this series as well. He's had the worst luck imaginable.
I mean, it would be a good blues song if it wasn't for real.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't for bad luck, he wouldn't have any. I mean, I just looked at the lap times again, and he was slightly slower on that last lap compared to Josh. But obviously complete failure now. Something mechanical, because he wouldn't stop there out of choice. But what a shame for him.
Yeah, and to do so with 2 minutes remaining in the race, it's just heartbreaking. So Ernie is going to fall all the way to the back, I think. Let's see. We'll see as the field comes by.
Literally a pit exit. That's where he is.
Yeah.
So he's done a good job, actually, of getting out of the way so as not to ruin the race. And that's what I like about Ernie. He's such a good sportsman.
Yep.
You know, he's pulled off the side. He doesn't want to take Josh's victory away or create a safety and ruin the race.
Well done for him, of course. And my heart goes out to him and his family for that disappointment, because he looked to be on his way to yet another podium. But Joshua Carr will be coming to the white flag. In fact, he's already seen the white flag. We're on the final lap of this race. Joshua Carr has never been headed in this one, and that is going to be 2 lights to flag victories back-to-back for the Australian.
He's starting to make this a championship, isn't he?
Absolutely he is. He is going to close that gap to Kyffin Simpson a little more, get it down under 50 points, let's say, and make it, a little more of a carrot to chase in the final 2 venues that we go to at VIR and Circuit of the Americas. Kyffin Simpson, though, will take second spot once again. That'll be 3 second places for Simpson here this weekend, as he keeps his string of podium finishes alive. And Baptiste Berthelot on the box for the first time. That is a great result for the Frenchman, as Josh Carr comes across the line to see the checkered flag, taking win number 3 on the season and the second of 3 races here this weekend. A great weekend for Josh Carr, closing that points battle to Kyffin Simpson. Here comes Kyffin, a bit further back than he would like to be, but hey, second place is just as good, whether you're right on the tail of the leader or finish 15 seconds behind him. Kyffin Simpson will score 18 valuable points in the championship. And here comes Baptiste Berthelot, the 17 car, his best finish of the season so far in his first season of competition in Formula Regional Americas. he is going to be chuffed for that. I'll be looking forward to speaking with him on the podium. Nick Persing, also one of his best finishes on the season. His best finish so far has been a 4th, and he's matched that with his 4th place finish here at Brainerd International Raceway. Logan Cuson comes home in 5th spot. A great race for Logan in the 99 car. Varun Choksi, probably wondering what could have been after a brilliant charge up into a podium spot in round 11, has to settle for 6th in this one. Ernie Francis Jr. will be classified 7th, I believe, at the end of the day, as he will be 1 lap down to the leaders. Jordan Missing, 2 laps down, will finish 8th. Hunter Yaney, 3 laps down, will finish 9th. Dylan Tavella will finish in the 10th spot, and Ian Rodriguez will be the odd man out, not scoring points in this final round. Jonathan, I'm going to head down to Victory Circle for the final time this weekend. I'll send it over to you. And thank you, Justin. Great job. Great to have you in the commentary box.
Thank you for the opportunity. It was really fun to watch the race.
Look forward to watching you race again later in the year, but well done to both of you. And yes, an immaculate performance by Joshua Carr. Doesn't get any better than that. And here are the results then. Josh Carr, 4 crosslink competition wins ahead of championship leader Kyffin Simpson, although that gap has come down now. Berthelot on the podium, a rare podium for Berthelot. Nick Persing, a really good result for the man who's just in his 2nd outing now in FR, having not found just as though he wanted to do F4, and now he's doing FR very successfully. Logan Cuson in 5th for Canada, Varun Choksi in 6th. Ernie Francis Jr. is, well, he's seen as 7th, and then Missing, Yaney and Tavella all not having the best of races with some sort of mechanical issue or similar. So well done, an immaculate performance by Josh Carr. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Sadly, this man gets out, but you can't say it's not been a bad weekend. He can only be let down, not by his own performance, but by a car that just wasn't going to go for him. But we'll find out, I'm sure, what happened to Ernie Francis Jr. But this kid is something special. Like I said at the beginning, I don't think many people have taken a stock car to victory and then taken on America and North America's finest in single-seaters and come out pretty close to a podium. But he has a look at the back of the car and tries to see what he can do with it. He's a mechanic himself, is Ernie, so he'll have a wistful look at that car, because he'll want to know why it's not working, and that's the mind of Ernie Francis for you, just trying to work out exactly what is wrong with the car. Good weekend, though, all the way for Ernie Francis Jr. You can't bat an eyelid at some of the stuff he's achieved this weekend, so doesn't finish in the fairy tale way he wanted, but it doesn't matter. One more race to go here from Brainerd, and that will be a classic race from SVRA, and we look forward to that. But as you can see, it's the drag strip in the background, and in the foreground is the paddock now starting to dissipate a little, given that some are now done with their race weekend. But there are one more race to go. There is one more race to go, and we're looking forward to that. And here comes your winner. And that's an important win and an important weekend. These last 2 weekends for Josh Carr have been just that, 2 very, very important weekends. And he is making a championship of this, as we were just saying in commentary. And as soon as he gets that helmet off, John Phippen will be there to talk to him, I'm sure. But there's definitely, it's time to start thinking about this name for the future, because we haven't had any great Australians. Weber, Ricardo, yes, they made it all the way, but where's the next one? Well, you're looking at him, because this man could be headed towards Japan if he can get the championship win and get that scholarship from Honda, and that would be a huge opportunity for this young Sydney sider. So he puts his water down, puts his hat on, and now he will join John Phippen.
Josh, back-to-back victories. Your championship is beginning to come into focus. You've got to be pleased with how it went.
Yeah, that was a brilliant race. It was green the whole time. I knew Ernie was very fast. He had a set of new tires for that race, and we had old tires, so I had to push really hard to try and maintain the gap. And at the start, he was coming at me, but I just kept pushing, was managing to hold the gap, and was just pushing the whole race. I didn't back off the whole time. And it was unfortunate to him at the end with not making it to the flag, but yeah, the car was amazing. Even on those old tires, we were able to do really fast times and keep pushing, and I tried not to make any mistakes and was just driving as hard as I could.
Fantastic. Looking forward to VIR?
Yeah, for sure. We did well there last year in our first season with 3 podiums. So we know we'll be quick there. We'll keep this momentum going. There was 2 wins on the trot, our first double win of the weekend. Slowly chipping away at that points lead. We won't give up. We'll keep pushing and try and make it there to the end.
Sounds great. Joshua Carr on the move, Jonathan.